What do you do when your sales are just crashing for your brand? Or when you just had an amazing year, but now you're coming into your off season because you have a seasonal business and frankly, you're running out of profit or you're running low on your cash in your bank account. I'm gonna walk you through a few strategies that are serving us pretty well. That's particularly for one brand right now, we've been working with for 2 years and they're an extremely seasonal business. I'm gonna walk you through the strategies that are helping us help them to, even though they have these big swings in sales and seasonality, every year they're actually up 100% year over year. And I'll walk you through some of those. So this is a real screenshot of a brand of ours that has an extremely seasonal business, very seasonal. And when they came to us 2 years ago, their sales, even though they're quite seasonal, were down nearly 50%. And so what it meant was they had to just change their business strategy, even though they are still seasonal. I just want to walk you through what are those strategies that we're using and how you can take advantage of it yourself. So for context, this is a brand that sells a product made for winter. It's a fashion brand and they sell stuff for winter. So common sense tells you that when it's winter, it's the right time. There's relevance. People actually need warmer clothes or warmer, nice looking clothes. But when it's hot outside, people don't want warmer clothes. If you're selling sweatpants, people don't want them in the summer. If you're selling a hoodie or a jacket, people don't need them in the summer. And that's a really tough business to be in because it is very seasonal. But what it means is you can still make a crap ton of money in that business. But during those off seasons, you have to pivot and pivot hard and really change. But what's important here is you can't be delusional either. There's sometimes brands come to us or they think that just because they have a rock star marketing team, that their season is going to change and that their off season is going to be different. Seasonality is one of the hardest things to fight against. And frankly, I've been doing this for 10 years. You cannot fight against seasonality. Instead, what you have to do is you have to make different decisions and probably even sell different products to survive seasonality. It's nearly impossible to fight seasonality. What are some of those things? So this is the brand. They sell winter clothes, and 2 years ago, they came to us, they're down 50% year over year. Last year, we changed a lot so that they made a lot more money during their peak season. But even then, they could not fight it. So for example, here's the trend the last 12 months. And here is the trend before they came to us. You can see much bigger highs in sales overall. And even though we made our changes, it doesn't mean that they are impervious to their seasons. And even though we consulted with them, that we say, hey, you got to focus on finding new products to sell that fit during the warmer months. You have to. And even though they haven't done it this past year, while sales have been pretty rough, we're actually starting to come back into their season. And because we stuck to these strategies, I'm going to tell you, we actually are coming out of it stronger to where it looks like it's going to grow their business 200% this year. So a few things I want you guys to understand is the first one is you have to ride out these seasons or sales slumps. You have to ride it out because going back to this, if you have a very seasonal business, you have no other choice. You have to ride it out. You can sell other products, but nothing else is going to work. So my recommendation for brands like this is, so this is the time to get as much cash as you can during your in season and plan for your out of season. So for this particular brand, because we knew after talking with them that they weren't going to have other products ready for this next off season, then what we told them is that, hey, we need to make as much money and profit as humanly possible. And we have to scale beyond your comfort zone so that you have the cash reserves so that you can weather the storm during this off season. And that's what they did. So we started cutting. So we started cutting budgets. So for example, here is that same trend as you saw, but this is ad spend inside Meta, where during their in season, we made them $2 million during Q4. But then as soon as we started to see that their season was starting to come to an end, we just started cutting costs, cutting marketing costs. They started cutting internal overheads costs because you have to. If your revenue goes down, you only have one choice. You can either make more money or you have to cut costs. And so for them, making more money without a new product wasn't feasible. So what we did is we just scaled the entire ad account down to just 2 campaigns and we did an offer. That was the only way we could help them survive during their off season is we had to run an offer. So we ran an offer 2 for $60. While it didn't give them the scale they needed, it gave them enough purchase intent running that offer over the summer to keep enough sales volume to keep the lights on, frankly. Because when you're a seasonal business, again, that's kind of what you have to think about is how can I just keep the lights on? And this isn't the first seasonal business we worked with. We worked with lots of them. And you have to do things like you have to do strategies where I'm playing more defense than offense. And when it's a time you have to play defense, what do I do to just keep the lights on and have enough sales volume for cash flow? And so we did. We had a testing campaign, and all summer long, we just ran an offer because at that point, no one needs winter clothes. So only other way to entice people to buy winter clothes is to freaking put an offer in front of them. The people who are willing to just, because it's a bang for a buck, let's just go ahead and pull the trigger. Okay. Number 2, cash reserve. I mentioned this already. You have to, for your brand, you have to be planning in advance. Every brand we work with, we actually have a seasonal analysis report that we do so that we see for the amount of time you have been in business, we chart out your sales and your profit every single month and every single quarter, year on year. Why this is helpful is because we knew this brand, they had a good 5 months to make all their money and profit, and the rest of the year is just a really hard time because it's warm outside. So that's where we knew that was happening. So we said we need to plan a cash reserve and cash buffer. So we asked them, how much OPEX or overheads does your business have? And what's the lowest amount you can squeeze down to during your off season? So they told us what that number is. We took that number, multiplied by the number of months we need to cover those costs. And we said, okay, we need to make sure we scale it during our in season this much and make this much profit so we can have the cash reserved for our off season. And we only know that because, again, we looked at their seasonal trends in their business. Make sure you do that. Number 3 is you have to pivot. So you already saw that we pivoted our offers, angles, and products. So we couldn't pivot the products, but we had to pivot on the offer. And during a time when people just don't want your product, the only other option you really have is frankly just to run an offer or do an angle. But in this type of business line where literally no one wants to buy winter clothes when it's warm outside, positioning a different angle really isn't going to cut it unless you have like a very famous person or an influential person posting about your product that people want to buy. Your only other option is to do an offer. So for us, we did a 2 for $60. And again, that just helped us to keep our cash flow where we need it to be. And number 4 is you have to ride it out until it comes back. You just have to ride it out. So check this out. So this is the Meta account in the last 12 months, where you saw last year, we helped them to do 2 million during their in season, and there was up 100% from the previous year. During the low season, so this is ad spend, you can see our ad spend where we just had to cut money this year. That's when the CPAs just went astronomically high. Again, because it's during the hottest months of the year selling winter clothes, it's just not feasible. But we had a cash buffer. We still knew that we needed to maintain a certain amount of sales, even at break even, just for cash flow reasons until we could weather the storm. But then look at this. When it's during the in season, look how much more we can spend and how much lower the cost per purchase is. That frankly is just down to resonance as well as right timing. When it's winter, it's the right time to sell winter clothes. When it's summer, it's not the right time. And that just shows you how stark of a difference that is, which is why for this business, when we're coming up again for the winter months, we know that this is the time to make as much money and profit as possible because that's when seasonality is in our favor. And so right now, as I'm making this video, we're just starting to come out of the summer. We'll be coming into the winter. And this is when in the last 7 days, we've seen a significant change where this brand is up already at 200%. Now, why is this happening? It's happening because what we told the brand is instead of just shutting down your business and waiting until it's winter again, do what you have to do to keep acquiring customers, keep spending money on marketing. Because we knew that when it would come time again to be in their in season, it would put them in an even better position than they were when we took over the brand last summer. Because remember, we did this last summer with them. They got up 100% when we did the same strategy. But then this summer, they kept putting the floor down and acquiring customers even at break even at a slight loss. And with their cash buffer and with the offer, they were able to break even, keep the lights on, and then use that cash buffer during those months where they needed to cover their costs. And now in the last 7 days, things started to move in our favor in this seasonal business. And now we're up nearly 200%. And so based on what we knew last year at this exact same time, this sets the trend and pacing for the rest of the year. So if this holds constant, and this brand is actually going to do $4 million in Q4, because last year we were up 100% around this time. That trend continued, and we made $2 million over Q4. So if this holds true, they're going to double their business again in the later half of this year. If you have a seasonal business, I recommend you do a seasonal analysis, chart out when are your in months, when are your down months, and plan how much profit do you need to cover expenses during that time, and start planning now. Do I need to do different offers? Do I need to pivot on different products? Those are the only things you have in your arsenal when you have a very seasonal business. By the way, if you like strategies like these, I help and mentor e-commerce brands inside of our D2C Dojo mentoring group, specifically on how to make these decisions for their brand. If that sounds remotely interested to you, click the link in the description, and I hope to see you if you join.